Hey people, this video is called Definition of Done, and the reason why I did this is I did a whole series on definition of done in Agile, in Scrum, in software development as it related to conditions of satisfaction. And I think it's so important that I did a series on it. Now I want to be able to pull that together for you and kind of assemble our thinking around how we begin to institute this into our projects and how we begin to understand the importance of it as a competency that we want to build rather than just something on a checklist. I'm going to talk about what definition of done is and what it's not, why it matters in every context, and how to begin to use it and work with it, and how human performance gets impacted by not using the practice of building definitions of done together, and how definition of done really can help with growing and anchoring team health, satisfaction, and ultimately executional excellence. So definition of done is really near and dear to my heart at the moment because I am living in a house where we got a new roof because we're worried about the fires in California, and also we got new skylights put in and we got solar put in because we want to be able to, minimize our impact, our ecological footprint. And so I'm living in a house where that project has been 3/4 done for the last 3 months. And it's a little bit like living in a building site. And now that we're getting some heavy rains, it's also beginning to look more like a building site. There's lots of reasons why it's happened, and some of them are very understandable. But I think that sitting down and eating my own, what is the expression, eating my own dog food, would have been a very valuable, important thing to do at the beginning of this project. I should have sat down with the roofing lead, with the team lead for the solar work, and the person who was coordinating with the local PG&E, who are our energy provider in the area. If I had sat down with them and had a conversation around definition of done, I don't think I would be in this position. So definition of done is something that is living and breathing and very near and not dear to my heart at the moment. So let's talk about it in terms of what it really is. It's a mutually understood and agreed upon standard when the work is considered fully complete and satisfying to the customer. So it ensures that the customer and performer have a shared understanding of done well, and that shared understanding is ideally built up front on the project. Note to self. The reason why it matters pretty much everywhere, and I've talked about it in the context of scientific projects and technical projects and software development projects, and now I'm talking about it in the context of roofing projects. So it prevents misalignment and rework, and it prevents delays, and it prevents erosion of trust and general dissatisfaction, and it prevents people like me talking to people like you about how my roofing project is not really working. In Agile, it shapes the velocity and the integration integrity because it creates a framework in which we start thinking about definition of done as a design element in how we are shaping our iteration integrity. In teams, it builds trust and accountability. So if I have conversations, or I'm even party to conversations at senior levels to help me build an understanding of how the leaders on my team are thinking about definition of done, I'm going to take that understanding right down to all the levels of the project that I'm working in, and I'm going to build an appreciation around me of what definition of done really means, and I'm going to have context for a lot of the work that I'm doing. It provides a really valuable aspect of context for people, and it makes people smarter in the long run. In leadership, it also anchors clarity in delegation and in delivery. So obviously I had delegated my roof and my solar to somebody, and I hadn't really anchored it in that clarity. The irony of me not following my own advice is superb. The conditions of satisfaction and definition of done really creates an environment where we can build executional precision, but also deep execution capacity. And we create a listening capability across the team that in many teams is not something that highly technical people necessarily come to the game with, not something that not necessarily all of us come to the game with, me included apparently. And so The conditions of satisfaction define what satisfaction looks like, and satisfaction is something that is very hard to define, but the definition of done defines how the vast majority of that satisfaction will be delivered, verified, and declared. And I am keeping the idea of conditions of satisfaction as being a critical element of your project management and your project design, because many times that is where the innovation really lives, and where the incremental improvements that we can do, or even the leapfrog innovations that we can do, begin to come into play in a project. And sometimes they start off as conditions of satisfaction and they become more clearly defined as definitions in the definition of done framework over the duration of a project. And we need to be paying attention to that, understanding that, and watching for that, and seeing how these two interplay with each other, and how in reality conditions of satisfaction is almost the superset of the definition of done. The consequences of not having DoD is about, we have lingering in progress work. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to admit I have lingering in progress work going on right now. We have confusion about what to ship, what to deliver, and when we've actually declared complete. And the baggage, emotional and mental, associated with unfinished business is huge for all of us. And over time, it erodes the confidence and the trust of a team. So our ability to be able to close out cycles and close out DoDs and to be able to celebrate them is a hugely important part of our ability to be able to open the door for people to go the extra mile, to build their competence, to feel like they're in an environment where they can declare breakdowns, where they can talk about issues, where they can get things resolved quickly and effectively, and they can move through those cycles of repair that really allow them to be able to be a highly functioning team. The other thing that happens is endless open loops produce overwhelm. There's no denying that. They put people in a position where they're never complete, where they're never satisfied, where their customers are never satisfied, where things are never done. And that frays our energy and our nerves over time, and it puts us in a position where we are constantly feeling overwhelmed. Overwhelmed people have a really hard time grasping new concepts, thinking about innovation, declaring satisfaction, really co-inventing with other people. So we're degrading their ability to be able to really bring their brilliance to the table. Silent dissatisfaction and performance erosion really erode trust and capability over time, never mind eroding performance as well. So what happens is, as we have silent dissatisfaction, we also have growing distrust. And the growing distrust is a serious inhibitor of our ability to be able to innovate and bring amazing new products and successful products and projects to fruition and to market. So as you start thinking of how you're going to apply this and bring this into projects, I have a white paper that I think will help you. I also have 4 or 5 other videos on this topic that will help you. But the white paper talks about execution by design. There's a link to it on my website, which is www.jenniferkenny.com/execution, because definition of done is an integral part of execution design, and conditions of satisfaction are embedded in that concept. The white paper talks about this, and I think it will be valuable for you as you think about the practices of how you build this into everything you do, even if it comes to construction projects in your home. Forgive me for going on about my roof. As you incorporate this into your work, I wish you the best of luck. Let me know how it goes for you. And if you have projects hanging around at home, apply it to them, because I'm going home to do exactly that. Take care, and I wish you the best of luck.